Hello, this is the explanation for not this 5x5, but this 5x5. The hour after I made the showcase video for this one, I shaved the bottom layer, and the clothing's faster. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so I'll do an explanation for this, so might as well do that. Yeah, didn't just shave the bottom layer. These two blocks have also been added, which is a bit of a shame. But I think this is already here, that's already there. All these bits and layers, this doesn't really matter. It can be silenced. This one isn't silenced. So can't really hear it though. Maybe I've somehow got dropper sounds turned off, but you can mute it, I think, by doing that. Yeah, so also you can do this and stops that piston firing in the close, which is a bit annoying, but not that bad. Apart from that, basically the same door. But also the materials list is for this door. So this might be a bit wrong, but I do know you need 2 glass panes and 2 redstone lamps, which this didn't have in this bottom. You also need an extra obsidian. But it should actually be a bit cheaper. Also, more leaves. You can replace these to an observer if you want, but I don't know why you would. Anyway, yeah, just checking I'm still recording. So, this is space 4 by 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. 4 by 15 by 12. I think 1 layer below, 3 layers above, 4 layers on each side. 4 layers, yes. So the layout is to the sides, not that interesting. Semi-hipsters. That those 3 happen in the same move, and it's 0 tick to make it speedy. That's the same on both sides. Then the top is quite a cool thing. That block gets pulled up, which makes the, instead of being pulled by this piston, yeah, which makes it quite nice. So this, you can put this here. If you want to make it clean, but my door you can't. Closing, and then open, and then we also have these. These will also extend. Opening, that, in the same move. Next move, that, and then that, and then that. There we go. That's the top layout. But we've also got a piston here to do updating, to make an easy 0 tick. Then bottom layout, it looks very similar, like that. That does that. And we've got that. What pushes down, that grabs that, and then sort of fold. Right, so the order I'm going to do it is going to be top, sides, bottom. The top needs the sides a tiny bit, but not that much. At the bottom, this reaches off the sides a tiny bit. So, oh, yeah, these are roughly the materials. Any gravity block, any solid or movable block, any transparent block, any leaves, any logs, any glass pane or wall or fence. basically needs to be a block that an observer detects when you put a block next to it. Then you need an item for the dropper, and then you need these items if you want to silence this dropper. You can make this a note block and put a carpet or a string on top if you want. Yeah. It's roughly color coding. This is the quartz in this. Oh wait, take away 2 quartz because these aren't quartz anymore. I replaced the barriers with quartz in there. They can be quartz-like blocks, basically. Right, so let's build that with glass blocks actually, so you can see a bit more. Place with glass. Right, so the input, I'm going to do red wool. There. Because the first thing we do is we get a 0 tick and a pulse. Very nice. Yeah, that needs to be solid, which means we need an obsidian there. There's no block there for some reason, I forgot why. Then we update that after 2 game ticks, and that does the top close. That we actually update it with loads of bed instead from the sides, which I won't build now. Alright, I thought I memorised this better, but I forgot the top input line is a bit confusing. We also have this stuff powers those 3. That is a 0 tick generator, which we want to block. So we have a slab there, I think. And then it goes up 2 slabs. Oh wait, no, the slabs there. No, it's not. What am I doing? Bit of a strange input line. And we have that, which, yes, is needed. Yeah. There we go. So this powers that piston to block this, to make it only do a 0 tick on the opening, and that powers the dust on the closing, basically as soon as I can do it. We put obsidian there, so this doesn't push over till that's pushed down. And then we have this sort of redstone block set up. The redirector. Yeah, I think you need the redirector. There's also a 3 tick there, which I'm going to do to block that from parrying. Right, so now we've roughly got the closing. You can see that went down. We update that. And then what happens when we unflick the lever? This goes after 1 bed, which means this pulls up and then this gets activated to push over, and then after 1, 2, 3 bed, this turns off, which turns this off because this piston updates that to turn off. That was a mistake. Wait till we get to the sides, there's a lot of body pistons, which are actually going to be annoying. So that does that 0 tick, like that. And then we want that to extend instantly, and the way we do that is with a dropper item in it to power that. So we can watch that pushes over, does that, and then we update this after, so this doesn't extend on the closing. So this keeps this on, switches off at 2 game ticks. We want this piston to turn on at 0, so that does that, and then we want it to turn off at 3 so it doesn't spit the block. It turns off at 3, this turns off at 2, nothing updates the piston until it updates itself, and by then it's 3 game ticks. So you get that, turns off, updates itself. Next we want that to grab it, that's 6, which we can do, I think, similar sort of thing, and observer powers that at 2 to 4. This finishes retracting at 3. By that time this will be on from the observer at 2, so it will re-extend, and then before it's finished extending, this will turn off at 4. It starts extending at 3, then that turns off at 4, and then similarly to this, nothing to update it to turn off, so it does a 3 game tick pulse. So it starts powering at 3 for 3 game ticks, which means it is on, which means it retracts at 6, which is what we want. Although that now powers that, I forgot about that, which is why we have that. Yeah, there we go, that piston budded by that, updated by that. I mean, yeah, which does the thing. So that turns off, I guess, not updated by that, it just turns off. And then we update this after. So there we go, this retracts. By this time the dust is on, so it re-extends, dust is off. Retracts at 6 with very minimal bed, or maybe no bed, I don't really know, in the block event or something stage. Which means this zero tick is very easy. Right, this also has to power on at 3 by the time this block has moved up. So 3 game ticks. And the way we do that is that dust, but that turns on at 2. And at 2 this is being blocked, so we need to update it at 3. Do that piston, which gets repowered by this redstone block at 3 and is updated by itself retracting from this, which is updated by that. Lots of updating and stuff. But this does mean that we need an immovable, because this will power onto the clothes, and that is bad. It's not very bad though. I don't actually think it's much of a problem. Yeah, we don't need that movable. Don't know why I put it there. Because that's extended as a movable. Right, we don't need a movable. That's extended by then. Let's put that there. That's not how it does get updated, but that will work. Hopefully. That does that. Then we can watch over here. That retracts. That turns on and then updates it at 3. Turns off at 4. Does 1 game to pulse. It needs to arrive here by 6, so it arrives there by 4, which is well in time. And then we need to do that 0 tick, which is the hard 0 tick. Or hardish. Bit annoying. And basically, it's this 0 tick generator. Set pointing downwards. And because it has to happen at 6, we can't use a 2 tick repeater, so we have to do this sort of thing. It only needs to retract with the updater, so here it's getting extended separately. So we do that, and we do that with that observer that starts it pushing at 2, and then it needs to retract at 6, which is 2 observers going into there, which I've got a piston there and a log there for later. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 turns off at 6 from that updater. It does that 0 tick. Yeah, very nice. However, we don't want it pushing over all the time. I mean, because on the closing, this block won't be here, so it will only get 2 game tick pulse and drop the observer, and that means 0 tick won't work, which means we need a blocker, piston. We've got this 3 tick repeater is 4 and the dust, which stops it doing anything on the closing. I forgot about that. That means edit update. And then that also gets an update by that 4 tick repeater. So we have that pushes over and then retracts like that. And the next move, that, and then this 0 tick generator pulls everything up. So we retract that 9, provide this observer is here, I mean that note block, because this observer will switch off at 9, but for that we need the side circuit, and then I might as well get a leaf, put it there with an observer. So that is blocked by there, and then on the opening, 1 game tick, 2, 3, turns off at 5, and then this is normal, so does 0 tick at 9. Yeah. Cool. Let's do the sides now. I guess I can do a bit of mock redstone. So I can do that, I think. So now we can see the last move. And then that will have been updated by the 4 tick. That starts extending at the right time. Then it will do 0 tick at the end. However, this is not what it is in the real door. Because the size do most of the stuff at 3 game ticks, it's easy to get odd game ticks out of them. Right. I'm going to do this side first, because then it gets the update to there. So the side needs these solids, and then that updates that, and also updates that, I think. Actually, it just updates that, it doesn't update that, because the whole stack is there. And then the inputs, these, I think, come from MQXF and Telly. It's just decently smart inputs, I guess. Does that set of pistons as well as that, which makes sides really easy because we do everything in tripwire here to redirect that. So it doesn't power that piston. Everything happens with a 0 tick repeater. It gets updated by that. Except it doesn't, because I changed how it works. It gets updated by that. Yeah. And then we need 3 game tick reset, which is the boat, which is the part of the door I didn't really make, and I don't know loads about, but I do know how to make small boats. So that's temporary, means it can go really quick. So what we do is we get a 0 tick to this instantly. That dust, and then we have to pull this away after some amount of delay, which we do like that. It's like this thing, except vertical. And then it also pushes back down. So now that will do the update to there, as well as that, and re-extends. And the top's going to break because I didn't put that fake wiring in. Alright, so that's that side. Just going to do the same on this side, because why not? Dust on all of them. This does have this sort of updating. I'm going to do more small boat because I know how to do it. You don't have to do this unless you want to test the door now. It just uses the boat height to make the sand fall instantly after 3 game ticks or something. So we have that. Same thing. Exactly the same thing. Go, that's a target, so that can re-extend. Yeah. Right, so the side storage, I guess we do next, is going to be very annoying. So this is where I advise you not to put in survival, because it's a bit annoying. I'm going to make these immovable blocks. I'm using barriers so you can see through them, because these are going to get powered constantly by that slider. Same thing on this side, like that. So those will push down and make those extend on 3, which I guess I can show. Finish the closing like that, and then what's useful is we just have to update that at 3 game ticks, which is really easy, it turns out. And the way we do it used to be different. Well, this door has changed, it seems. We're gonna add all this stuff. This I'll move that. This is also budded by the redstone block. Leaves 1 game tick, 2 game tick, 3 game tick, pushes up at 3. Over here we do it basically the same thing. I think it's 1, 2, 3 leaves like that. And those will do the retraction at 3, which we can see. Very nice. However, because it's a slider, it just re-extends, is why it's annoying. Annoying to reset, I should say. It's actually very useful, redstone-wise, I've found. Right, so what you'll also see is I put this piston and this dust. This dust turns off at 3 with some bed. This arrives at 3, gives that a zerotic pulse, which we make into another zerotic repeater. And we'll push that in like that, and then that. Yeah, that piston might also get powered. I mean, will also get powered by this repeater, but it doesn't matter because this one goes first every time. which means this can't power those, which it doesn't, so that's alright. And that goes into the back pistons. It's got 2 beds, so then parallel them. So that gets zero tick at 3. Wonka target block there, that gets a 0 tick at 3. And that does the instant extension. I'm gonna make that all immovable, just so we can see stuff happening. Forgot about that. Oops. Right, so we can watch it all happen. That's not meant to be extended. I don't know what happened there then. Right then. Must have got updated by that. Oh yes, I remember. This log gets pushed back down on the opening. So the leaves don't do anything on the close. This is all broken. Oh well. So then we can see we get 0 tick. There. Which does that instant extension. This didn't work, and I don't know why. So this gets pushed down, and that gets its second pulse, which we'll do in a second. Right then. So we get that, and that doesn't get powered. That makes sense, because it should. And then what happens is we do that, which pushes that back down, does the 3 tick. That really should have worked. That's bad. I'll come back when it works, I guess. Am I back? Yes, I think so. Right, I fixed the problem. The old door was locational. So that's annoying. The updaters messed with this piston, even though I thought they didn't. So yeah, basically we move this 3 game tick updater down to there. Rail updates it, and that does that. So now this piston isn't used as the updater, and thus can be used in the chain here. So that means that's a lamp, and then we need another update. I mean, these could both. This could be a note block. So that updates that, budded by that. We need that to redirect. This can't be like that because then it's locational and stuff. Yeah. Right. Let's redo the boat. Right, so that should fix it. I forgot where we were up to, but that's now the updater. Oh, we got the instant extension. Right, then we want to zero tick this at 6. So we don't want it to chain into this, because if we do, it won't break anything, but it means the last pulse into this line that comes from here has to be a zero tick. And that means another zero tick gen. And that's harder than moving this out the way and then just two game ticking this after a minute. And the way we do that, like that. Right. So this is a pseudo zero tick. This is why the rails go down here. It is so on the opening they're off can be used to update this. On closing they're on, which means toggles this. And then how pseudo works is it's a one game tick pulse, but it happens tiny bit earlier, so that it switches off and basically creates a zero tick. So then this retracts at this switches off at 6. 1, 2, 3, 4 turns off at 6. Gives us zero tick at 6. Yeah. So that extends, but it doesn't matter. It retracts in time. Does that. So. And then we just power that from this dust and these very handy field observers. So that's at 9. The note block goes on 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, turns off at 9. This drops at 9. Drops its block. And that finishes the sides. And resets that, I guess. Yeah, and basically uses no space in the bottom. I mean, uses decent chunk, I guess. Didn't use as much before, but luckily my bottom didn't really use this space. I had space to make a lock fix. Right, that brings us on to this side of the door where we'll build the exact same thing. Yeah, except because these updaters are down here, the lock fix doesn't really apply here. So let's build this. Right, so we have the same thing here. Exactly the same. It's a bit boring, but oh well. And then this goes into lock in. Goes down. I don't really know why that's a slab, but it is, I guess. Slab now up to there. This that. Ah, you see this observer now. So this goes at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, drops at 9. And now the top will work. So we can watch that as well, at least the sides. Yeah, so hopefully that's the side row. I forgot about these updaters. I forgot how they're just like nice and easy. Right, and that's still updated from there. So now the side should look identical and the top should work. Oh, that's not good. Oh, let's watch the top. There we go. It works. What do you think broke? I think you're not placing that block. Perfect. I've done that before. Alright, now we've got a lot of the door. Wow. Hopefully it doesn't seem as complicated now I made it. Now it comes to the bottom. Don't know why I'm doing those. So the bottom. Let's start with these. Actually, let's start with the input, because the input to the bottom is not easy, because if you look at those pistons down there, they spam a tiny bit, and yeah, it makes input to the bottom hard. But we've got this piston. If I put redstone block on it, because that dust updates the head when that pushes down. We get it goes in and out, and then on the open it goes in and out. It also broke the side because that's there like that. Maybe in the real door there isn't dust there anymore. Ooh, right. Sorry about that. This is actually an observer and a hopper. Some people like hoppers facing down for some reason. It updates us back. Right, now it's not solid, I'm going to power that. Right, so it goes back and forth on the opening and the closing. We don't want it to go back and forth twice on the opening. So I'll show you why. We add this and get our 2 glass panes or fences or whatever. We get that. So that retracts and extends as fast as it can, because this is an observer, and then we have 2 observers there, and that's a lamp. So that makes, we want it to do that. Well, want it to do that, or extend as fast as possible. And the way we do that is by this is not a very good showcase. That makes it start extending, and then we've got these 2 make it extend. It buds it doesn't have to bud it, because this will extend again. But yeah, that's very handy. So that's what that observer and those 2 do. And then this is perfect timing to make it extend and grab this block basically as fast as practically possible, and then it retracts at 9, because this re-extends at 3, arrives here at 5. I mean, if it was powering a piston, it would be 6, but arrives here at 5, 6, 7, retracts at 9. And that just does the piston on the above the floor. We don't want that. Oh, I can show that. So it just does that. But then you'll see on the opening, re-extends, and then it does it again, which makes that happen again, which we don't want. So we need to keep this powered while this is moving a second time with that repeater. So when this pulls up, that would normally retract, but that dust is on, so it stays extended, and we only have once. So the next pulse is this, which we get a what do you call it? A lamp. I used a lamp and it worked first try, so it's kept as a lamp. I don't know, maybe it could be a note block, but I wouldn't try. That powers that after that's pushed across. Like that, perfect timing. Then on the opening it goes, but it doesn't do anything, it's blocked by everything. And then the opening pushes down, that retracts fairly quickly. Right, so I'm going to do the rest of the opening now, because I forgot how that gets powered. So let's delay it. Right, so this needs to power at 3, and that's pushed down, gets pushed across. 1, 2, 3. Like that. That retracts at 6, which means this needs to zero tick at 6. Which we do similarly to that, except this time it's facing up. And this time, first pulse goes like that, the second pulse goes like that, and just realised that could be a note block, which would mean that wouldn't have to be a note block, but I didn't think of that. Right, then the update piston for when it will make sense in a second is that. So, that can push over too fast, it seems, which is why we have hopper there. So hopper, because it might not be able to be a full block, I can't remember. Then let's turn that all pushed up. Right, so what happens is this retracts instantly, this turns on at 2, this turns on at 4, this pushes down at 3, which means this gets a pulse, 2 gain tick pulse, which basically acts the same as the thing I built earlier when I was explaining that. And then that's the updater, which is the equivalent of this. That will do a 0 tick at 6. After that's retracted. And then you see that got blocked, although it didn't. Oh, well, it was meant to, it gets blocked eventually. That didn't grab it, even though that gets spammed a bit more, it didn't grab it, so we need to grab it. The way we do that is like that, perfect timing, and the toggle. This goes at 3 on the opening, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then 8, 9 retracts that at 9. I'm going to add that now. That means when this slider pushes up, it updates this, which makes this do 0 tick pulse instead of a 3 gain tick. Currently it gets 1 update to extend, but it doesn't get an update to retract. This is the update to retract. This means that this doesn't double pulse and instead does a single pulse. Currently doesn't matter because of that removable, but later will matter. Right, yeah. So that should retract that, perfect timing. Like that. That does that. Yeah. But we want it to 0 tick, obviously. And the way we do that is by breaking a bunch of glass under the door, because I'm going to put it there. And it's this sort of 0 tick. Yeah, right, or this sort of 0 tick. Yeah, that 0 ticks. Turns on same time it gets retracted. And crucially, it also does a pulse on that edge. Because 0 tick and a pulse, if that notebook wasn't like that, then it would do a pulse, which is what we need for the last push up of the close. So I'm going to do this now. This piston, kind of just trial and error. That's why there's a lamp and this observer and a hopper. That just works. It doesn't get in the way on the opening somehow. So let's see that pushes in, perfect timing. And then this piston, like the one in the 0 tick gun, it's pushed over, pushes up the whole stack. We don't want it to push up the whole stack, so we put obsidian up there quartz, and then at the top has an obsidian there. Right, so that's that. We also want the 0 tick on the opening, which means turning this off at 9. No, it means activating this at 9, which we do. I think if you don't have this, it clicks. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 turns on at 9. Also turns this off at 9, which does the same with this observer. So that's alright. So now we will see the door open. Like that. Except that is way too long of a pulse. So we need to retract this at 9. But we also need to retract it with some bed at 9. And the way we do that is by retracting it with a redstone block. Adds a bit more bed. So this gets powered by something I forgot. Oh yes, 3. Because it needs to retract at 9, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, switches off at 9. It's instant. Yes, so there we go. Also pushes over at the right time. We will see to do that box, which is handy. And then I will start powering and power off like that with some bed. However that happens, it extends and breaks, and that's bad. With this leaf observer, you can watch it. Powers once, powers twice. We don't want that second pulse. So what we do is we stick an immovable block here and a piston here. We extend to block this, and that can work like that. So now that turns on before that returns on. And that's 5x5 done. Right, so if you don't want this to power on the closing, you can make that a dust and then redirect it like that. Now that's like that, but then it's bigger, obviously it's even bigger than that one. When you do that, you can replace all the walls with quartz. Floor with quartz, ceiling with quartz, place that repeater, which is a redirector. No, it doesn't actually power. And then that's 5x5, smallest 0.6 second 5x5 as of making this video. Except the boat, I forgot about the boats. So, the boats. I got help with the boats. Because I don't really know how to make them very well. But I will try my best to recreate what Brickcraft and BlackM have made. Right, basically it's 2 minecarts with a boat on top. And then some blocks to stop them being pushed around. So, yeah. Except this side's different from here. Let's do this side first. So, that, like that, and then we want furnace minecart, because why not? Boat. A rail. Right, so. Ooh. 1 furnace minecart. 2 furnace minecarts. And then a boat on top, which we do, I guess, like that. That looks like it could work. Remember to replace everything. There we go. Work. Place that. That looks like it works. And there are no pistons where the boat is. See. So it should be alright. Ah, why did I do that? That's not good. Can I push that back in? So that's that boat. This boat is very similar. Like that, and then we put the boat in there. Drag it forward so it's in the volume. Then we need to get that piston in there. Because there's a piston, it means I'm going to put that first. Yeah. Because there's a piston, that means I think we need a block there. Yeah, to stop the boat being pulled up by the piston. There we go. That's those boats done. This one is I'm less familiar with. Right, the minecarts seem to have gone on the lamp. So I will try and do the same thing. Right, and then 2 boats. We use the same minecarts. We'll take that back in. Click there. Put the dust on. Then we want boat. I'm gonna have a look just in case. So boat facing that way, sort of. Like that. That looks alright. Break those things, then does it work? Yep, there's a piston there, which means we need a block on top of the boat, which this glass block does fine, which is why it's a glass and not a slab, I think. But first we need the other boat. It's a bit easier. So let's do that. Will it work? Yep. And we set that in dust, glass. Blackon made that, which is why it's colour coded glass. So I don't really bother with that stuff. That boat needs to be more this way. Here we go. Is it all in the volume? I think so. Right, then. So that looked like it didn't work. It needs to be a lot more forwards. Yep. Oh. That did not go very well. Everything broke. Well, I wonder why did I not replace that dust? Did. Yeah, lab there. Don't forget that. That's why I had removables the whole time. Right, this boat needs to be done a bit better, I think. Why can't I have hitboxes and not the F3 screen? Right, those boats look alright. Oh. And then that. That I think was alright. I hope so. Yeah. Bottom breaks whenever basically anything happens in the door. But it fixes itself, alright. Just need to power it a few times. Yep, there we go. Very nice. That's the 5-5 done. I'm impressed I made the boat. Took me a while though. Yeah. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.